In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where stars shimmered like diamonds scattered across an endless velvet canvas, there existed a realm far beyond human comprehension. The planet Zarathia, shrouded in swirling violet mists and crowned with crystalline spires that pierced the heavens, was home to one of the most enigmatic civilizations in the galaxy. Here, amidst the bioluminescent forests that pulsed with life and rivers of liquid light that carved through iridescent landscapes, ruled Queen Velithra, the last of her kind. The Zarathians were a species of unparalleled beauty and intelligence, their translucent skin refracting light into rainbows, while their elongated limbs moved with an elegance that seemed almost supernatural. For millennia, they had mastered interstellar travel and established diplomatic relations with countless worlds. Yet beneath this veneer of sophistication lay a society facing extinction. A mysterious plague had swept through their ranks, leaving only a handful of survivors, with Velithra standing as the sole royal bloodline remaining. Her palace, a floating citadel of living crystal that hovered above the planet's surface, served as both her sanctuary and prison. From its observation decks, she could watch her people dwindle, their numbers reduced to mere hundreds. The weight of her crown pressed heavily upon her slender shoulders, for tradition demanded that the royal line continue. Without an heir, the entire Zarathian civilization would fade into cosmic dust, their magnificent culture lost forever to the annals of galactic history. Desperate to preserve her species, Velithra had exhausted every conventional option. Diplomatic unions with compatible alien races had failed, each attempt ending in tragedy or biological incompatibility. Her scientific council had spent centuries researching genetic solutions, but even their advanced technology couldn't overcome the fundamental barriers between species. It was during one of these desperate council meetings, while reviewing data on various humanoid species, that a radical idea began to take shape in her mind. Earth, that small blue-green orb orbiting a modest yellow star, had caught her attention. Its inhabitants, though primitive compared to her people, possessed remarkable adaptability and resilience. More importantly, their genetic structure bore striking similarities to ancient Zarathian DNA patterns. What if, against all odds and conventions, the solution to her people's survival lay not among the stars, but on this unassuming planet? The decision to seek a temporary human consort was met with shock and resistance from her advisors. Such an alliance would be unprecedented, potentially scandalous, and fraught with unknown risks. Yet Velithra, driven by both desperation and a spark of curiosity about these peculiar creatures, remained resolute. She dispatched her most trusted emissaries to Earth, cloaked in human form, with instructions to find someone who might bridge the gap between their worlds, someone whose character and spirit might complement her own formidable nature. As the search began, Velithra found herself drawn to the concept of human emotions, so raw and unpredictable compared to the carefully controlled passions of her people. She studied their art, their music, their literature, finding in them a chaotic beauty that resonated deeply within her. Perhaps, she mused, it wasn't just survival she sought, but something more profound, a connection that transcended biology and tradition, a chance to experience life through different eyes before her species' final curtain fell. On Earth, specifically in the bustling city of New Chicago, lived Dr. Elias Thorne, a man whose life had been anything but ordinary. At 34, he stood out in academic circles not just for his brilliant mind but for his unconventional approach to xenobiology. His laboratory, nestled in the upper floors of the University of Galactic Studies, was a testament to his obsession with extraterrestrial life. Walls covered in holographic displays showed complex DNA sequences alongside sketches of alien flora and fauna, while incubators hummed with experimental hybrid organisms that defied natural laws. Elias's fascination with alien life had roots deeper than mere scientific curiosity. Orphaned at a young age after his parents disappeared during a classified space expedition, he had grown up under the care of various foster families, each move taking him closer to institutions specializing in astrobiology. This nomadic childhood had instilled in him an insatiable hunger for knowledge and a unique perspective on life's possibilities. While other children dreamed of becoming astronauts or doctors, Elias spent his nights sketching imaginary alien ecosystems and developing theories about interspecies compatibility. His reputation as a maverick scientist had earned him both admirers and critics. Traditional academics dismissed his work as speculative fiction, but those who dared to peer beyond established boundaries recognized genius in his methods. He had developed groundbreaking techniques for analyzing alien DNA structures, creating algorithms that could predict potential biological compatibilities between vastly different species. His papers on theoretical xenogenetics had sparked heated debates in scientific journals, though few could deny the mathematical elegance of his models. The invitation arrived on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, delivered by two impeccably dressed individuals who claimed to represent an international research consortium. They spoke of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to consult on a top-secret project involving alien biology. Skeptical but intrigued, Elias agreed to meet with their client at a secure location. The moment he stepped into the private chamber of the orbital station, he knew this was no ordinary consultation. Queen Valithra, in all her crystalline splendor, materialized before him, her presence commanding yet strangely vulnerable. Their initial meeting was tense, filled with mutual suspicion and cultural misunderstandings. Valithra, accustomed to deference and formality, found Elias's direct questions and casual demeanor unsettling. In turn, Elias struggled to reconcile the alien queen's ethereal beauty with the pragmatic reality of their proposed arrangement. Yet beneath their differences lay a shared passion for understanding life's complexities. As they discussed the scientific aspects of their potential union, a spark of intellectual connection began to form. Valithra was particularly fascinated by Elias's theories about adaptive genetics and his belief that true interspecies relationships required more than just biological compatibility. His insistence on emotional and psychological alignment challenged her preconceived notions about what constituted a suitable consort. Meanwhile, Elias found himself drawn to Valithra's unwavering dedication to her people and her willingness to embrace such a radical solution to save them. Their conversations evolved from formal negotiations to genuine exchanges of ideas, each revelation about the other's world opening new avenues of thought. The courtship, if it could be called that, proceeded with careful deliberation. Valithra arranged for Elias to visit Zorathia, where he marveled at the planet's living architecture and witnessed firsthand the plight of her people. She, in turn, accompanied him on excursions to Earth, experiencing human culture through his eyes. These experiences created moments of unexpected intimacy, sharing laughter over human cuisine that bewildered her senses, or discussing the philosophical implications of mortality while watching Earth's sunsets. Yet beneath the growing rapport lurked shadows of doubt. Valithra's advisors whispered warnings about the risks of trusting a human with their most sacred traditions. On Earth, rumors of Elias's involvement with aliens threatened his academic standing. Each step forward seemed to reveal new obstacles, testing their resolve and forcing them to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and their respective worlds. Through it all, a bond continued to develop, built not on romantic love but on mutual respect and a shared vision of bridging two vastly different civilizations. The day of the bonding ceremony arrived with an air of surreal anticipation, as if the very fabric of reality had paused to witness this unprecedented union. The grand hall of the floating citadel transformed into a kaleidoscope of light and sound, where ancient Zorathian traditions merged with carefully adapted human customs. Crystal formations rearranged themselves into intricate patterns, casting prismatic reflections that danced across the walls, while soft choral harmonies filled the air, a blend of Zorathian resonance frequencies and human musical scales. Elias stood at the center of this cosmic display, clad in ceremonial robes that shimmered with threads of liquid light, each strand attuned to his biosignature. Beside him, Valithra radiated an otherworldly glow, her translucent form enhanced by traditional adornments that pulsed with the collective consciousness of her people. The ritual began with the exchange of essence crystals, small, living fragments of their beings that would merge to symbolize their temporary union. As their hands touched during the exchange, a surge of energy rippled through the chamber, causing gasps from the assembled dignitaries. The ceremony progressed through layers of symbolism, each element carrying profound meaning for both cultures. They walked together through a corridor of floating memory orbs, each containing a significant moment from their respective histories. Human achievements in science and art mingled with Zorathian milestones in spiritual evolution, creating a visual tapestry of two civilizations converging. At one point, Elias stumbled over a complex Zorathian gesture of commitment, prompting nervous laughter from the audience and a rare smile from Valithra, which helped ease the tension. Throughout the proceedings, subtle signs of cultural dissonance emerged despite careful preparations. When traditional Zorathian blessings were offered, invoking concepts of eternal cycles and celestial harmony, Elias responded with a human blessing that emphasized individual choice and temporal existence. The contrast highlighted their fundamental differences, yet somehow strengthened the authenticity of their union. The media representatives present, both human and Zorathian, captured every nuance, broadcasting the event across galaxies and sparking debates about the nature of interspecies relationships. As the final vows were exchanged, a peculiar phenomenon occurred. The crystals embedded in the chamber walls began to resonate at an unprecedented frequency. Scientists monitoring the event noted unusual energy patterns forming between Elias and Velethra, suggesting a deeper connection than anyone had anticipated. The atmosphere charged with an electric tension, as if the universe itself acknowledged this extraordinary alliance. When the ceremony concluded, neither participant could deny the strange sense that something far more significant than a simple political arrangement had been set into motion. The initial days of their cohabitation proved to be a delicate dance of adaptation and discovery. Velethra's floating citadel, designed for the ethereal movements of her people, posed immediate challenges for Elias's more grounded physiology. Simple tasks like walking through the gravity-manipulated corridors became exercises in coordination, with Velethra often having to stabilize him with gentle energy fields. Their sleeping arrangements presented another hurdle. Zorathians required periods of suspended animation in zero-gravity chambers, while Elias needed traditional rest in a bed. They compromised by creating a hybrid sleeping pod that combined elements of both environments. Mealtimes evolved into fascinating experiments in culinary fusion. Velethra introduced Elias to nutrient-rich crystalline formations that pulsed with energy, while he attempted to recreate Earth dishes using synthesized ingredients. Their first attempt at spaghetti carbonara resulted in a gravity-defying mess when the cream-based sauce refused to adhere to the pasta in the citadel's variable gravity fields. Yet these mishaps often led to bursts of shared laughter, creating moments of genuine connection that transcended their biological differences. Communication proved equally challenging and rewarding. Zorathian language incorporated harmonic frequencies beyond human hearing range, while English lacked the nuanced emotional subtext of Velethra's native tongue. They developed a hybrid communication method combining spoken words with color-coded energy pulses that conveyed emotional states. This system revealed surprising depths to their interactions. Elias discovered that Velethra's apparent stoicism masked a rich inner world of complex emotions, while she learned to appreciate the raw expressiveness of human feelings. Their roles within Zorathian society required careful navigation. Velethra faced resistance from conservative factions who viewed Elias's presence as a threat to their cultural purity. During council meetings, she defended their union with logical arguments about genetic compatibility and cultural exchange, while Elias contributed insights about human diplomacy and conflict resolution. Gradually, they developed a rhythm where Velethra handled formal state matters while Elias focused on building bridges between their peoples through informal interactions and educational initiatives. Scientific collaboration became their strongest bond. Together, they established a joint research facility where Zorathian scientists worked alongside human experts. Elias's theories about adaptive genetics found practical application in solving agricultural challenges on Zorathia, while Velethra's knowledge of energy manipulation helped advance human quantum computing capabilities. Their partnership yielded breakthroughs neither could have achieved alone, demonstrating the potential of interspecies cooperation. Personal growth emerged from their daily interactions. Velethra learned to appreciate the value of spontaneity and emotional expression through Elias's influence, while he developed a deeper understanding of long-term thinking and collective consciousness from her perspective. They taught each other about their respective arts, Velethra introducing Elias to Zorathian resonance painting, where colors shifted based on observer emotion, while he shared human literature and music, helping her grasp metaphors and abstract concepts. However, their relationship wasn't without its trials. Moments of homesickness struck Elias unexpectedly, triggered by Earth broadcasts or familiar scents synthesized by the Citadel's environmental systems. Velethra, too, experienced periods of doubt about the wisdom of their union, especially when faced with criticism from her people. Yet these vulnerabilities brought them closer, teaching them the importance of mutual support and understanding. They developed rituals of comfort, Velethra learning to prepare Earth-style tea, while Elias mastered the art of Zorathian meditation patterns. Their evolving dynamic began to influence Zorathian society in unexpected ways. Younger generations embraced elements of human culture, incorporating them into traditional practices. The rigid class structures started to soften as citizens witnessed their queen's genuine partnership with a human. Even the most skeptical advisors found themselves warming to Elias's practical solutions to long-standing problems. Through their daily lives, Velethra and Elias were quietly revolutionizing a civilization on the brink of extinction, proving that sometimes survival requires embracing the unfamiliar. As weeks turned into months, Subtle changes began manifesting in both Elias and Velethra, changes that defied conventional understanding of biology and consciousness. During their nightly meditation sessions, Elias noticed his thoughts extending beyond normal human perception, occasionally brushing against the collective consciousness of Zorathian society. At first, these experiences felt like vivid dreams, but soon he realized he was genuinely accessing memories and emotions of Velethra's people. Similarly, Velethra found herself experiencing flashes of human intuition and creativity, her traditionally structured thought patterns giving way to spontaneous inspiration. Their physical transformations were even more startling. Elias's cellular structure began exhibiting properties previously thought impossible for humans, his DNA strands developing crystalline components that mirrored Zorathian genetics. Medical scans revealed his neural pathways were forming new connections at an accelerated rate, while his body temperature fluctuated in sync with Zorathia's diurnal cycles. Velethra, meanwhile, underwent changes that baffled her medical staff. Her normally translucent skin developed subtle pigmentation patterns reminiscent of human diversity, and her energy signatures showed unprecedented stability, suggesting a biological anchoring to Earth's gravitational field. These metamorphoses extended beyond their individual bodies. The environment around them responded to their presence in peculiar ways. Plants in the citadel's gardens began producing hybrid fruits, combining Earth's agricultural traits with Zorathian crystalline structures. Energy fields throughout the palace adjusted automatically to accommodate their dual needs, creating zones where human and Zorathian requirements perfectly aligned. Most astonishingly, their proximity seemed to generate a unique quantum field that affected nearby matter, causing objects to exhibit characteristics of both worlds simultaneously. Their mental connection deepened to levels that alarmed even the most open-minded scientists. They could anticipate each other's thoughts with uncanny accuracy, finish sentences in perfect harmony, and experience shared sensory perceptions despite being in different parts of the citadel. During research sessions, their minds would synchronize, allowing them to solve complex problems through a form of collaborative consciousness that defied explanation. This phenomenon wasn't limited to intellectual pursuits. They could share emotional states instantly, providing mutual support during stressful situations or amplifying moments of joy to heights neither had experienced before. The implications of these changes rippled through both societies. Human scientists studying the phenomenon reported similar but less pronounced effects in researchers working closely with Zorathian counterparts. Some developed heightened sensitivity to energy fields, while others exhibited temporary alterations in their genetic markers. On Zorathia, citizens interacting regularly with human visitors began showing increased adaptability to environmental changes and enhanced cognitive abilities. The transformation appeared to be contagious, spreading through both populations like a benevolent virus of evolution. Perhaps most concerning was the effect on time perception. Both Elias and Velethra began experiencing temporal anomalies, moments where time seemed to stretch or compress unpredictably. They would emerge from brief conversations to find hours had passed, or complete complex projects in what felt like minutes. These distortions weren't random. They correlated with periods of intense focus or emotional connection, suggesting their union was affecting the fundamental fabric of space-time around them. Instruments monitoring quantum fluctuations in their vicinity registered patterns never before observed, hinting at a fundamental shift in the local physics of reality itself. Their relationship had become more than a biological experiment or political alliance. It was evolving into something that challenged the very definitions of identity and existence. Neither human nor Zorathian, yet embodying aspects of both, they existed in a state of constant transformation that defied categorization. The question that now loomed over both civilizations wasn't whether their union would succeed, but whether the universe itself was ready for what they were becoming. The repercussions of Elias and Velethra's evolving relationship sent shockwaves through both human and Zorathian societies, creating ripples that reached far beyond their immediate circle. Among the Zorathian nobility, factions formed around the unprecedented developments. Traditionalists, led by Elder Silvaris, argued that the changes represented a contamination of their pure lineage, while progressives saw in them the salvation of their species. Debates in the royal council grew increasingly heated, with some members proposing immediate termination of the union, while others advocated for expanding similar partnerships with humans. On Earth, public reaction ranged from awe to outrage. Religious groups condemned the union as unnatural, while scientific communities debated the ethical implications of cross-species genetic modification. Governments struggled to establish protocols for handling citizens who had begun exhibiting minor Zorathian characteristics after interacting with visiting diplomats. Social media exploded with conspiracy theories and viral content, from amateur videos of humans displaying energy fields to elaborate artwork imagining future generations of human-Zorathian hybrids. The economic impact proved equally dramatic. Corporations rushed to capitalize on the emerging technologies resulting from their research, leading to a boom in biotech and quantum computing industries. However, this rapid expansion also created tensions, as nations competed for access to Zorathian knowledge while trying to protect their citizens from potential risks. The United Nations convened emergency sessions to establish international guidelines, but progress stalled amid conflicting interests and security concerns. Within the scientific community, the phenomenon sparked a revolution in understanding consciousness and biological adaptation. Researchers worldwide scrambled to study the energy fields surrounding Elias and Velethra, leading to breakthroughs in quantum mechanics and consciousness studies. Theories about parallel dimensions and alternate realities gained new credibility as evidence mounted that their union was affecting not just biology, but the fundamental nature of reality itself. Military establishments on both worlds watched these developments with growing concern. Human defense agencies worried about the strategic implications of citizens developing energy manipulation abilities, while Zorathian security forces grappled with how to protect their queen when her very presence seemed to warp the laws of physics. Intelligence networks on both sides ramped up operations, leading to several tense incidents as agents attempted to gather information about the full extent of the changes. Cultural exchanges accelerated dramatically, with both societies borrowing elements from each other at an unprecedented rate. Human artists incorporated Zorathian resonance techniques into their work, while Zorathian musicians experimented with human musical structures. Philosophers from both worlds engaged in intense dialogues about identity, free will, and the nature of consciousness, challenging long-held beliefs and creating new frameworks for understanding existence. Educational institutions revised curricula to include interspecies studies, preparing future generations for a world where the boundaries between species were becoming increasingly blurred. Amidst this societal upheaval, personal stories emerged that reflected the broader changes. Families of Zorathian diplomats stationed on Earth reported children born with hybrid characteristics, while human researchers working on Zorathia described experiencing profound shifts in their perception of time and space. Support groups formed for those undergoing transformation, providing a space to share experiences and navigate the challenges of existing between two worlds. These grassroots movements added another layer of complexity to the already volatile situation, as individuals began organizing to advocate for their rights and recognition in this new reality. The convergence of these factors created a perfect storm of social, political, and scientific transformation. Traditional power structures on both worlds found themselves challenged by the rapid pace of change, while new alliances formed across species lines. The question that now dominated discussions wasn't whether the changes could be stopped, but how to guide them in a direction that benefited both civilizations. As more individuals began exhibiting signs of transformation, it became clear that Elias and Velethra's union had initiated a chain reaction that would reshape both species in ways no one could have anticipated. The deeper Elias delved into understanding the phenomena surrounding their union, the more he uncovered layers of mystery that challenged everything he thought he knew about life and consciousness. Late one night, while analyzing data from their latest biological scans, he stumbled upon a pattern that made his blood run cold. Embedded within the quantum fluctuations generated by their presence was a sequence that matched ancient Zorathian prophecies, ones that had been dismissed as mythological allegories. These patterns suggested their union wasn't merely a desperate attempt to preserve a dying species, but part of a cosmic cycle that had repeated across eons. Velethra confirmed his findings with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The prophecies spoke of a convergence, a rare alignment of universal forces that occurred approximately every 100,000 years. During these periods, different species were meant to merge their essences, creating evolutionary leaps that propelled life forward in the galaxy. What shocked them both was the realization that humans and Zorathians weren't the first pair in the cycle. Archaeological evidence pointed to similar unions between other species throughout galactic history, each leaving behind technological and cultural advancements that had shaped subsequent civilizations. Their research took an even more startling turn when they discovered traces of human DNA in ancient Zorathian ruins, dating back millions of years. This suggested that humans and Zorathians weren't merely compatible species, but distant relatives separated by evolutionary paths that had diverged far earlier than either civilization had realized. The implications were staggering. Their current union might be completing a circle that had begun in Earth's primordial past, when early human ancestors had encountered Zorathian explorers. As they pieced together these revelations, other anomalies began surfacing. Certain human myths and legends, previously considered purely fictional, contained accurate descriptions of Zorathian technology and culture. The story of Atlantis, for instance, bore striking similarities to accounts of a lost Zorathian colony on Earth. Even more disturbing were the parallels between human religious texts and Zorathian spiritual teachings, suggesting that their civilizations had influenced each other's development in ways neither had consciously remembered. The quantum field surrounding them revealed additional secrets. Their combined presence didn't just affect local physics. It seemed to be rewriting fundamental constants of the universe. Measurements of the speed of light, gravitational constants, and even the passage of time showed minute but consistent variations that correlated with the intensity of their connection. Mathematical models predicted that if their union continued to evolve, it could trigger a cascade of changes throughout the galaxy, potentially awakening dormant genetic codes in other species and initiating a wave of evolutionary advancement. Most unsettling was the discovery of encoded messages within their shared consciousness. These weren't simple memories or thoughts, but complex information packets that neither of them had consciously known. Some contained detailed blueprints for technologies far beyond current understanding, while others held warnings about dangers lurking in deep space, threats that neither human nor Zorathian sensors could currently detect. The messages implied that their union served as a conduit for ancient knowledge, transmitted through the fabric of space-time itself. As they processed these revelations, both Elias and Velethra began experiencing vivid visions that seemed to transcend their individual identities. They witnessed scenes from Earth's distant past and glimpses of possible futures, where humans and Zorathians existed as a single, unified species. These visions carried an undeniable sense of purpose, suggesting that their relationship was part of a larger design that spanned multiple dimensions of existence. The question that now haunted them wasn't whether they could prevent these changes, but whether they had the right to interfere with a process that might be essential to the galaxy's evolution. The mounting revelations about their union's cosmic significance cast long shadows over both human and Zorathian societies, triggering a cascade of consequences that neither civilization was prepared to handle. On Earth, governments scrambled to contain the spread of information while secretly mobilizing resources to exploit the newfound possibilities. Classified documents revealed that several nations had already begun covert programs to replicate the effects of Elias and Velethra's union, experimenting with volunteers in underground facilities. Whistleblowers leaked reports of unethical practices and alarming side effects, including cases of accelerated aging and uncontrollable energy manifestations. Among the Zorathian population, the revelations sparked a spiritual crisis. Centuries-old beliefs about their divine right as a chosen species crumbled in the face of evidence that they were part of a larger cosmic pattern. Some embraced this new understanding with religious fervor, forming cult-like groups that worshipped Elias and Velethra as prophetic figures. Others rejected the findings entirely, retreating into isolationist communities that sought to preserve what they saw as their pure heritage. The resulting social fragmentation threatened to tear apart what remained of Zorathian society. The economic impact proved equally devastating. Markets crashed as investors reacted to the uncertainty of a future where traditional measures of wealth and power might become irrelevant. Tech companies that had invested heavily in quantum research suddenly found their products obsolete in the face of rapidly advancing hybrid technology. Simultaneously, black markets flourished with illegal trade in artifacts and substances believed to enhance human Zorathian compatibility. Criminal organizations on both worlds capitalized on the chaos, smuggling experimental treatments and forging documentation for those seeking to participate in the evolutionary shift. Diplomatic relations between Earth and Zorathia deteriorated as mistrust grew. Human leaders accused Zorathians of withholding crucial information about their shared past, while Zorathian officials suspected humans of attempting to dominate the evolutionary process for their own gain. Border disputes erupted in shared territories, and several diplomatic missions ended in violence when cultural misunderstandings escalated into armed conflicts. The United Galactic Council found itself paralyzed by competing interests and conflicting agendas, unable to mediate effectively between the two civilizations. Scientific communities on both worlds faced internal divisions as researchers grappled with the ethical implications of their discoveries. Many scientists argued for immediate disclosure of all findings, believing that transparency was essential for managing the transition. Others advocated for strict control of information, fearing mass panic or exploitation by hostile entities. This debate spilled into public forums, creating widespread confusion and anxiety as citizens struggled to make sense of conflicting reports and expert opinions. The psychological toll on individuals manifested in various ways. Many humans and Zorathians began experiencing identity crises, questioning their place in a universe where the boundaries between species were dissolving. Mental health services on both worlds were overwhelmed with cases of existential dread and cultural dislocation. Some individuals embraced the changes with enthusiasm, actively seeking ways to accelerate their transformation, while others resisted with desperate determination, clinging to their original identities even as their bodies and minds began to change. Environmental impacts added another layer of complexity. The quantum field generated by Elias and Velithra's presence began affecting planetary ecosystems. On Earth, certain species exhibited accelerated evolution, while others faced sudden extinction as they couldn't adapt to the changing environmental conditions. Zorathia's crystalline forests showed signs of mutation, with new forms of plant life emerging that defied previous biological classifications. Weather patterns on both planets became increasingly erratic, suggesting that the atmospheric composition was shifting in response to the ongoing transformations. Amidst this turmoil, underground movements gained momentum, advocating for radical approaches to managing the transition. Some groups pushed for immediate integration of human and Zorathian societies, arguing that delaying the inevitable would only increase suffering. Others called for complete separation, believing that maintaining distinct identities was essential for preserving cultural heritage. These opposing ideologies led to violent clashes, with extremists on both sides employing newly developed hybrid technologies in their conflicts. The situation reached a critical point when independent researchers discovered that the changes weren't limited to Earth and Zorathia. Subtle transformations were occurring throughout the galaxy, affecting species that had never directly interacted with humans or Zorathians. This realization forced both civilizations to confront the possibility that their union was triggering a galactic-scale evolutionary event, one that might be irreversible regardless of their actions. The question that now loomed over both worlds wasn't whether they could control the process, but whether they should even try, given the potential consequences for the entire galaxy. As the galaxy teetered on the brink of transformation, Elias and Velithra stood together in the heart of the floating citadel, their bond now a living force that pulsed through the cosmos. The quantum field surrounding them had grown into a radiant sphere of energy, its light stretching across star systems, awakening dormant genetic codes in countless species. They realized their union was no longer just about survival. It was a catalyst for universal evolution. On Earth and Zorathia, chaos gave way to a fragile harmony as people embraced the inevitability of change. Leaders from both worlds convened in an unprecedented summit, agreeing to collaborate rather than resist. The prophecies, once dismissed as myths, were now seen as blueprints for coexistence. Ancient knowledge flowed freely, bridging gaps between science, spirituality, and culture. Elias and Velithra, however, knew their role was far from over. The encoded messages within their shared consciousness revealed one final truth. The convergence wasn't merely an event but a choice. Together, they could guide it toward unity or let it spiral into chaos. As they held hands, their forms shimmering with crystalline and human hues, they made their decision. The quantum field surged, enveloping both planets in a luminous embrace. Time seemed to pause as every living being felt the ripple of connection, a reminder that all life was intertwined. When the light faded, the universe was forever altered. Humans and Zorathians began to merge not just biologically but spiritually, creating a new civilization that honored both heritages. In the end, Elias and Velithra vanished, their physical forms transcending into pure energy, becoming eternal guardians of the convergence. Their love, born of necessity, had transformed into something greater, a beacon of hope for all sentient beings. And so, the galaxy entered a new era, guided by the legacy of two souls who dared to defy boundaries and rewrite destiny.